My name is David Miller. If you have ever driven across the state alone for many days, you will understand how I felt at that time. Long roads, yellow lights, and an emptiness that followed me forever, like an uninvited friend. I'm a truck driver, a former firefighter, and have a cozy little family with the most wonderful wife I've ever known. Her name is Sarah, but she passed away 3 years ago from cancer, and since then, I've been living, but not living. There are winter mornings when I sit in the car cabin holding a cold cup of coffee, looking out at the gray sky and thinking, what am I doing? It's not that I don't have a job. My driving schedule is full all week. But there was one thing that no one saw. I was gradually extinguished from the inside. Not the noisy kind of despair, not tears or complaints. It's the quiet and steady way, like a radio playing sad music over and over again. I used to think I was strong. People often say that American men have to be tough and stubborn with their emotions. But in reality, pain does not discriminate. It creeps into every smallest action. The way you avoid calls from loved ones. The way you glance at the mirror without bothering to look at yourself. The way you tell yourself, it's okay, when inside you're completely not okay. I do all of those things, one day at a time. I also used to be skeptical of all things spiritual. God? I'm not sure. When Sarah died, I went to church once, just once. I looked up at the cross and waited for a sign, an answer, a miracle, but nothing, and I gave up. From then on, I kept thinking that if there was someone up there, they would have forgotten me. You know, the danger of pain is not in the initial pain. It's about you gradually getting used to it. You wear it like a coat, heavy, but familiar, and you just live with it, not realizing you've lost all the things that make life worth living: connection, curiosity, and even small dreams. If someone had asked me at that time, David, are you alive? I would have been confused, because I'm not really alive, I'm just existing. And I don't think I'm the only one who's ever felt that way. We can have a job, a house, a to-do list, but still feel empty. There are still times when I lie down in bed, my eyes wide open at night, and wonder, and then what? I used to be like that. But I'll tell you what changed everything, in ways I never imagined. And believe me, if I can find myself from that rubble, then you can too. That day was a gray day like any other day. I was on my way from Illinois to Colorado, carrying a shipment of frozen foods. Snow started falling early in the morning, and according to the weather forecast, there was a possibility of a blizzard. But a schedule is still a schedule. I always thought I was used to long roads, with hailstorms, slippery slopes, and nights without any lights. Only truck headlights shining endlessly. But no one really gets used to the feeling of losing control. The car started to slide as I passed a corner near the pass. I clearly remember feeling the steering wheel stiffen under my hands, as if someone had just snatched control. I slammed on the brakes, but knew it was useless. Everything happened in just a few seconds, but my mind slowed down strangely. I saw the car spinning around. I saw the glass crack. I saw the headlights of the car coming from the opposite direction flash for a split second. Then, silence. There was no explosion. There is no gore like the movie. Just a thick darkness, as if someone had just pressed the pause button on the whole world. I don't know where my body is, but I feel like I'm not in it anymore. I looked down and saw myself motionless in a pile of twisted metal, blood smeared on my forehead, breathing so weak it was almost non-existent. But what surprised me the most was that I wasn't afraid. Not at all. There was no panic, no pain, nothing but absolute silence. It was like for the first time in a very, very long time I had let go of all my burdens. I started drifting. Not in a vague way, but clearly as if someone was gently lifting me off the ground. All sounds recede. I no longer hear the sound of ambulances. I no longer hear people screaming. Everything disappeared, giving way to a dim area of light ahead. It's not a bright light like people say. It's a very soft, very warm light, like the morning sunlight shining through your window on a peaceful Sunday morning. I don't know where I'm going, but I don't want to stop either. There is an invisible pull, not by hand or call, but by emotion, a safety, an unconditional love. It pulled me closer, and I let myself drift. When I realized, I was standing in a space with no ceiling, no walls, no limits. But it's not scary either. On the contrary, I feel like I'm in a place where every question can be answered, every hurt can be healed, and every loneliness can be filled. I don't know how to describe it, so you can fully understand that feeling. It's not like a dream. It's so real, more real than my daily life before. And then I saw him. There was no halo, no thunder, and no scary majesty like in the church paintings I've seen. He just stood there, plain, with eyes that could see through every mask I had ever worn. He did not ask, "Who are you?" which seems to know it all. Just looking at him broke my heart, because there was something I had never fully felt in all these years: unconditional love. And you know what? That moment, even if it only lasted a split second or a lifetime, was enough for me to understand that everything I had hurt, hated, lost, was not meaningless. I don't know how long I was there, no time. There are no moments at all, just presence. I no longer feel cold. I don't feel pain, and I don't need to say anything, because there, everything is understood without words. I saw my wife Sarah's face smiling again. There was no blame, no tears, just a gentle gaze that seemed to say, "I am forgiven." And at that moment, I heard, not with my ears, but with my heart, a message. I'm not done yet. I don't fully understand the meaning of that statement, but I know one thing for sure. I will be back. I will live again, but not to continue as before. It's about starting something completely new, a real life, a meaningful life. And then, as if someone gently touched my chest from inside, I felt a pulse, one breath, a monitor beeped. I'm back, but my heart, it's no longer the same. I don't remember how long I drifted in that space. There was no clock, no sun, but no feeling of waiting either. Everything just is. And I, for the first time in many years, don't feel the need to strain anymore. It felt like I had finally let go of something very heavy, but I didn't know how long I had been carrying it on my back. Then I felt a presence. No noise, no startling. It's a very clear, very full presence. I turned around, and he was there. Lord Jesus. But it's not like the image I've seen on a painting or in someone's Bible on the table. There is no halo ring, no blinding light. He appears as someone you feel you have known for a long time, even though you have certainly never met him. There was something in those eyes that made all the wounds inside me, the things I hid, the things I avoided, the things I tried to forget, melt away. He doesn't need to say anything. Just look at me, and I'm blown away. Not to be judged, but to be relieved. I don't understand why I don't feel scared. I think if one day I had to face God, I would feel ashamed, shaken, or at least panicked. But no. I felt like a child who had just run far, for a long time, was exhausted, and finally returned home. He does not blame, no judgment, just standing there, with a love I've never experienced in any relationship. And then, as if a movie started playing, I saw my entire life again. No screen. There is no projector. But every memory, every little detail keeps appearing as if living again. I see my childhood, a boy who was often bullied, always trying to act strong to hide his hurt. I saw the day I met Sarah, the first time she looked at me, and I knew I had found a home. I saw the first time I held my daughter. A tiny life placed in my arms made me tremble with both fear and happiness. Then I saw the moments I didn't want to remember, the time I yelled at my father over something small, when I coldly walked out of my wife's room when she was crying because she was in so much pain. I didn't know what to do but stay silent. I even saw people I used to ignore. An old man asking for help on the street, a newspaper boy smiling at me, but I didn't bother to respond. Each of those moments became clear as day, not allowing me to justify, but also not making me ashamed. He showed me that it was not for punishment, but let me understand. Understand that no action is small, no words are harmless. And sometimes what hurts people the most is not what they did wrong, but what they didn't do. When they could have reached out, could have forgiven, could have said, "I'm here." I used to think I was a good person, not perfect, but not bad either. But in the gentle light that he brought, I realized I could have lived differently if I had understood this sooner. Not to feel guilty, but to wake up. To know that this life is a gift and every person in it is worthy of love. I started crying, not out of shame, but out of relief. For years I struggled to prove that I was okay, that I didn't need anyone. But when faced with that love that doesn't need me to do anything to deserve it, I feel like it's okay to be weak. I feel I am enough. God does not explain in words. He does not need to talk about mercy or forgiveness. He is all of those things. I can't count how many times in my life I've walked past someone suffering and thought to myself, it's none of my business. But here, I understand. It's all my business. Because we are connected by invisible strings. Every good deed we do creates a wave, and every time we close our hearts, the world loses a little light. I don't know if you've ever felt like I do. The feeling of being too insignificant to be able to change anything. But when I'm in that presence, I understand that no one is too small. No one is unimportant. Every person, including me, is an integral part of something very big, very deep. I see the whole future, not like a science fiction movie, but as different paths. If I continue living the same way, my heart will become more and more dry. Relationships will wither, and I will die, not physically, but from the inside. But if I go back, if I live with this heart, a heart that has just been touched by a love greater than all understanding, everything will be different. I remember asking, with all sincerity, can I stay here? Because honestly, I don't want to go back to a world where there is loss, pain, and loneliness. But God does not answer with refusal or approval. He just looked at me, and I understood. You can stay, but you are not done yet. And I knew. It was time for me to return. I'm not sure how I got back. I just remember a beam of light passing through me, a breath coming from deep in my lungs again, and I woke up in the middle of the emergency room. Doctors panicked, nurses cried. People called me a miracle. But no one knows what I saw and felt. Life after that was not easy. I still have to work, still have bills, still have tiring days, but things are different. I started saying thank you more often. I hugged my daughter longer. I listened to someone without rushing to give advice. I stop when I see someone in need, not because I'm a hero, but because I want to be part of something good. I don't tell this story to appear special. On the contrary, I tell you that if a stubborn, dry, and wounded person like me can be touched, can be loved without conditions, then so can you. It doesn't matter what you did or what you missed. What's important is how you choose to live from now on. I have met him, and I was loved, even though I wasn't perfect. And if there's anything I want to leave you with after this story, it's just one simple thing. You are enough. Right now, you are loved, and you can start again whenever you are ready. I used to think life was a straight line. Born, grow up, work, grow old, and die. Everything is in a chain that we call life, and each person's task is to make that journey long enough and smooth enough. I have lived like that for more than 40 years. Try to do the right thing, do enough, avoid trouble, and don't let anyone bother you. But what I've never really thought about is, what does it really mean to be alive? When I stood in the presence of Jesus, in a space without time or boundaries, he spoke to me without words. But somehow, every question in my heart was gradually answered. Not with theory, but with images and emotions so clear that I cannot deny. I felt like I was being taken on a journey inside the truth. Not the kind of truth that makes people afraid, but the kind of truth that makes people awake. I realized that life is not simply about existing, it's about connecting. Every small action, every hug, every look, every time you decide to forgive instead of get angry, it all has an impact. I used to think that the things I did every day were meaningless and didn't affect anyone. But there, I felt like every word I said was like a pebble falling into a lake. And the waves from there kept spreading, reaching people I didn't expect. I saw a very ordinary memory. One morning, I stopped my car on the side of the road to help a woman whose tire was broken. I thought simply, it's just a small thing. But in that space, I saw the story continue. The woman returned home safely, hugged her little daughter tightly, and said she had just been helped by a stranger. The child grows up believing that there are still good people in this world. And later, that girl became a teacher and supported a student who was thinking about committing suicide. I never knew those things, but I was seen. And I understand that everything we do, even the smallest, brings with it a chain of reactions that we cannot imagine. He also showed me the opposite. The times I overlooked someone in need. The times I was silent when someone needed a favor. There is no punishment, no sentence, but I feel the pain that others have to endure. Not to torment me, but to make me understand that I can live differently. I used to think I was just an ordinary man, driving long distances, living simply, without ambition. But in that space I realized no one is normal. Each person is an important part of a large tapestry where every thread is weaving something beautiful, even when we don't see it. If just one thread is missing, everything will no longer be the same. I am a thread. You too. And I also understand something deeper. We are not alone. The times I thought I was alone, lying in a hotel bed in the middle of a deserted night, driving hundreds of miles without anyone calling, or even the times I cried silently because I missed my wife, I wasn't really alone. I am accompanied. There is a presence. There is a love that is always watching over me, patiently waiting for me to return. That love does not force, does not pressure, just quietly there, ready to embrace me anytime I let go of fear and closure. I did not see the secret of the future of humanity or the cosmic plan as people often think. What I saw was much more intimate, but it was enough to change my life. I understand that forgiveness is a form of freedom. I held so much anger inside, at my father who had been cold, at life for taking Sarah away, at myself for things I couldn't fix. But when I stand in that love, all anger disappears. Not because those things suddenly stop being important, but because I no longer wanted to carry them. I also understand that death is not the end. It doesn't mean I look forward to death or despise life, but I'm not afraid anymore, because I know deep in my soul that we came from the light, and there we will return. Every moment lived here is an opportunity to learn to love, to learn to be honest, to learn to be present. And perhaps what shook me the most was when I realized I am free to choose. He didn't force me to go back. Don't tell me to live differently. He shows me everything as it is and lets me decide for myself. It was that love, that trust, that made me no longer want to live like before. I want to live more beautifully, not to be praised or go to heaven, but simply because I understand the value of every moment. I understand life is a privilege, not a burden. If you're listening to me here, I want you to know this. You are not invisible. You are not forgotten. Everything you've ever done, every time you've ever been hurt, every choice you've ever regretted can be healed. Not by forgetting, but by looking again with the light. I am no longer the same man. I'm still David, still have the habit of drinking too strong coffee, still occasionally forgetting my schedule, still learning how to be a better father. But now I live with a different heart, a heart that understands that it is responsible for the way it loves, to itself, to others, and to the world. And I tell this story not for you to believe, but for you to remember. Remember that within you there is light. Remember that every moment you're kind, every time you choose love over resentment, you are changing this world in a way no one else can. Because you are not here by accident. Because you were born to live, truly live. Suddenly, there was a strong suction pulling me back into my body. When I opened my eyes in the emergency room, the ceiling was blinding white and the sound of the monitor beeping as if marking my return to this life. The first thing I felt was not pain, but a strange peace. My body was exhausted, my mind was still foggy, but in my heart, something was different. It was as if I had just stepped out of a deep dream and brought back a whole new heart. The doctor told me that I had narrowly escaped death. They said my heart stopped beating for almost 3 minutes. They used electric shock machines. They tried everything. And then it hit again. To them, it was a medical miracle. But for me, I know clearly that it is an opportunity. A gift is given, not because I deserve more than anyone else, but because I still have things to do. The day I left the hospital, it was still cold and snow still covered the sidewalk. But my steps are lighter. Light because I no longer carry the old weight in my heart. I did not become a perfect person after that experience. I still forget my keys. I still get angry when cars are stuck in traffic. But the other thing is, I started to notice the little things that I ignored before. I called my father, the person I had been angry with for 10 years. We couldn't say anything profound, just a few questions, a few hours of hesitant silence. But in that moment, I knew I had reopened a door that I had once closed. I went home and found Sarah's letters that I didn't dare read after she passed away. I read every line, and for the first time, I didn't cry out of regret, but out of gratitude. She loved me with all her heart. And I know that love has not disappeared. It's still there, living in the way I treat others, in the way I choose to live each day. I started changing from the smallest things, like smiling at the cashier at the gas station, like asking the homeless person on the street corner, and instead of just giving money, I buy them a hot meal. I opened up and told my story in sharing meetings at the local church, where there were people who had also hit rock bottom and lost direction like me. Not to preach, but just to say, I understand that feeling, and I'm still here. Reincarnation is not about turning into someone completely different. It is returning to yourself, but this time with wider eyes, a softer heart, and a more real presence. I no longer let the days pass by in ignorance. I started waking up a little earlier just to see the first light of the day. I say thank you more, not just to others, but to life. Someone asked me if I was still afraid of death. The answer is no, but I don't expect that anytime soon, because I know every day I can breathe, love, and choose. Every day I can create something good, although small, even though no one sees it, but still a good thing. Once, while driving through a small town, I saw a boy standing on the side of the road with a sign, "My family needs help." Instead of running past like before, I stopped, just to hear you say a few words. Then I drove him home, where his mother was sick. I don't do anything big. I only had some food in the car. I gave it to them. But that day, I received something I didn't expect. A look of emotional gratitude, a smile that I still remember to this day. Rebirth without noise. It happens in very normal decisions. Choosing to say kind words, choosing to forgive, choosing to return to the person you once left. And each time, your heart softens a little, wider a bit, a little lighter, and a little happier. If there's anything I've learned through it all, it's this. Life doesn't need to be perfect to be meaningful. It just needs to be lived with a true heart. I'm not telling this story to make you feel special. I tell you that you can start again. No matter where you are, no matter how much you've fallen. Your heart may be tired. It may have been closed for a long time. But if you just open it a little, the light will enter, and you will know you can always live again, right from this very moment.